Hi there, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to Season 4 of my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on a Ficus microcarpa, and it's the tiger bark variety. So on the bark there's little white stripes that go across it. That gives it the tiger bark name. This tree was originally given to me as a stump. It was the remains of an air layering. The top of the tree had been air layered off. So in that time I've been working on growing a new leader out the side of the stump, and it's thickening up quite a bit now. It's looking pretty good. In a previous video I had carved out this side of the tree to make it look more natural, so it didn't look like a stump that had been cut off. Today I'm going to be repotting it and styling the top of the tree. Even though I've been growing this out as the trunk, I've never really gotten a firm style for this tree, so I'm going to look at it today and try and kind of get the structure of the tree going in a good direction. So this tree, it comes up from the stump, comes over this direction, and then comes back again. So it's kind of like a snake-like trunk. And I don't want to change that kind of style. I don't want to have it, all this movement in the lower part of the tree and then have a plain looking straight top on it. So I want to follow this movement and keep the tree with a lot of movement to the trunk. It'll match the bottom. This has been the previous front of the tree, and I think rotating it around to the back of the tree here, I get a nicer trunk line. It's smoother, it flows nicely, and comes up. So I think I'll probably change this to the front of the tree. It also, if you look at it from the side, it leans that direction. Now it's possible when we repot it that I could adjust that, but for now this I think is the better front for the tree. I'm going to begin today's work by pruning off these extra branches here and just keeping our one trunk line. So here I go. Goes 1, 2, and 3, and there's some back here I'm going to remove also, just like that. So keeping just the one trunk line. A problem I see with this tree is that we have this nice trunk line coming up and it takes a curve here, and then it's a little straight in this area. If it started to branch, if this branch was coming off here, it would look good if we get these curves to kind of stay tight. So this is kind of a long straight section that I don't really like, and I don't think it suits the style of the tree. So I'm thinking of chopping it off right here and see what branches develop in this area. And then we'll take one and keep our twisty trunk developing. So here I go. A tough cut. I'm thinking right about here. And I might even angle it a bit. I think I will. Here I go, right here. Done. I'll plant this top as a cutting. I'm looking at the aerial roots now, and they kind of, this is the curve of the trunk, and they're kind of on the inside of the curve. They kind of fill that curve space in, that negative space, and just clutters up the curve so you don't see the curve as well. So I think I'm going to remove all the aerial roots and maybe develop new aerial roots later on as the tree gets more mature. If I kept these roots on while the tree's still in development, they'll turn into great big thick roots and it'll start competing with the trunk. So for now I'm going to remove all the aerial roots off the tree. So here I go. Start with this one. Get up here, take a nice cut, and get rid of this one here. See if I can get in there. There we go. And we'll cut them back, and as I repot it, I'll remove the remainders of these roots from the soil. We'll just just comb them out. There, so we've got the trunk line all cleaned up. And The next job will be repotting and sorting out our root base. I'll start by getting the tree out of the pot. There we go. And we'll start raking out our surface roots and seeing what we have to work with. This tree was repotted probably, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. I think in the last repotting I did quite some severe cutbacks to the root system. It was not in very good shape. And hopefully we can get a little more trunk out of the ground to give it a little more height. I'll give the root system a wash so we can clearly see what's going on, and all this soil in here won't dull our cutting tools. Here's the root base of the tree all washed up, and you can see it's not very good. I have one root crossing another thick one that was cut off here. I have a root that's too high in the root plane here. I have the remnants of a thick root that went down into the ground here. These roots wrap underneath the tree and go off to the side. So it's gonna take quite a bit of root work to correct this and get it going in the right direction. So I'm gonna start by removing this one that's growing up way too high here. So let me get rid of that. There's that gone. Like that. I have another root here that's curling around with the trunk. I don't like the direction of it all. I'm going to remove that also. So that's removed. And you can see the bulbous part of the root down here. So I think we are going to have a leaning tree to get our curvature to the trunk. So doesn't leave us with a whole lot of workable roots here. Yeah, that's the problem with some ficuses. When they get out of control, they really get out of control. There's a bunch of roots on this side that just aren't going a nice direction at all. I'm gonna prune this one off entirely, and I'm gonna cut this one back to this part, which is going a better direction. This one also, cut it back to here. That starts to fix those roots a bit. Not a whole lot, but gets them going in a better direction. Wow. This is a tough project. So now it comes down, we got to determine our soil line. It's probably going to be at the base of this root here, so somewhere around here, because below this the root system starts getting smaller. So this is our widest part of the trunk. So I think I'm going to have to do a big chop here and cut a lot of this bottom part of the trunk off, if I can even get my pruners in here. It's probably too wide. I may have to use a saw on that. So I'm going to cut the base off here, and I want to determine my planting angle, which is going to be somewhere around here. So I think right about there is where I'm going to cut. There we go. So cut quite a few roots off, and that is our planting angle. We still have these weird crisscrossing roots here, but I think that will probably have to get corrected another time. If we get a nice ring of radial roots growing out from this cut point, then I can remove these ugly roots entirely, or at least this one. I'll plant it like it is and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll get roots developing in this area and then we can further reduce these. That'll be the plan anyway. So not much left of our tiger bark ficus. However, this is the essential part, and if we can keep it alive, it'll turn into a nice bonsai tree. I've got my pot all cleaned up, and I've picked this as the front of the pot. The back of the pot has a bit of a blemish right here in the glaze and the pot. It's a bit of a bump, so I picked this as the front of the pot then. So I'll put a layer of soil in the bottom. And then plant the tree. So I'm going to plant it a little deeper than I normally would, just to keep the roots in the ground and safely growing. So probably even lower than that. Probably to about there. I'll get my roots sorted out, what few roots are left, and start filling in. And I'll just work the soil in around the roots. Like that. And just add a little bit more soil here. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then we can water the tree. Aftercare for this tree will be critical. I'll keep it in a bright, warm spot with high humidity, and hopefully it'll get growing again. It's time now for today's update. Today's update is my native red maple bonsai. It was dug up from the garden a few years ago. We've been doing some root pruning on it and some structural pruning. So it's very early in this tree's life as a bonsai tree. The leaves come out a nice red color in spring, and then they quickly turn to a green color for the summer. So now it's time for our viewers' picks. Today's pictures are from Robert. He's got a clip and grow brown mimosa tree. This tree was originally 7 feet tall, and he's using clip and grow to develop a nice bonsai. That's all for today on this beautiful spring day. So Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.